Tuvalu and Pinstripe up the middle of the track at the 150. Tuvalu and Pinstripe pounding runs on, then attrition. Pinstripe up to Tuvalu. Pinstripe just in front. Attrition with a late dive. Pinstripe has won it.
Welcome to Bet Doctor Behind the Curtain. Look at how pro punters operate. I'm your host, Scoot. I'm in studio with John Walter. He's up and about, springs in the air. It's a cracking card at Rosehill this Saturday, and the weather forecast is clear. Walty, how are you, brother? Great. DK, you're down in Melbourne. You're flying solo. Nico's got a bit of a finger injury, unfortunately, so he's a scratching. So fingers crossed. Which shouldn't really say that, but hopefully he bounces back out of that. But a little bit more serious than you'd like. So I don't know if I say it again. I obviously say that
toes
a lot,
crossed.
But toes crossed. Everything. Hopefully a bit of luck on his side, and he bounces back out of that. But how are you, mate?
Yeah, as I said, I was all right till 10 minutes ago, and the cheese from the Group 1 toasted sandwiches scorched my lip. So I'm just struggling a bit there off that. But no, going all right. Oh, I did. Yeah, no, going all right. Beautiful weather down here, but I think it's going to turn. I think we've got a bit of rain coming, and we've seen what the rain does to that Caulfield track, especially if it lands on someone race day as well. So a bit of weather watch down here, but we're on the other side of winter, that's for sure.
Quick one, news of the week, I guess, was the second round of the Rosehill inquiry. I had it on the background for, 6 hours or however long it went for. I thought it was a bit of omni-shambles, as Paddy Davies would say, and I thought the whole thing was pretty embarrassing. They're $300,000 or so into the due diligence discovery, and they've got no concept of the value of the land. So some are saying it's $1.6 billion, $5 billion, or perhaps even 20 plus or 23 billion, depending on who you believe.
Over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years.
When the metro station's built, which is meant to be in 2035, Tim Hale, Peter McGuarran, PVL, they're all running off different figures, but they're all sort of in cahoots somewhat. Sounds like, broadly, to sum up, I think it's just poor governance. They haven't gone through via the board in the first place, and they've just tried to expedite the process, obviously just to get a result, or that's what it appears to be. And it's no surprise, really, because my experience in speaking to a lot of wagering operators and even Walt and lots of people, there's just a stone wall that exists with Racing New South Wales in negotiations. So they just like to do things and then worry about the consequences or pick up the pieces later and don't like to consult anyway. So I thought it was, I just showed how poor, harmonious, well, they're not even just, there's no harmonious existence of governance up in New South Wales, and the cracks are starting to appear in that stone wall, and everyone's sort of a bit fed up by the sounds of things. Walton, I thought it was a pretty, it was just an interesting
It was probably
way that
90-10, wasn't it? It was probably 90 Racing New South Wales, 10 Rosehill. There was that second day, as in the topic of conversation.
And I was not surprised by the strategy from PVL. It sounded like it was pretty coach and a good way to come out, and I guess come out on the attack. Where I guess
with his brief, whatever.
Well, it was. He came out and said it was a bit of a smear campaign. But Emma Hurst and Mark Latham, they're directing comments and questions off the back of the 80 submissions lodged by everyone in the industry that's disgruntled. So it was no surprise for him to say, "Oh well, it was me. I've been bullied. Oh, I'm getting bullied here, and poor me. I'm meant to be the saviour of racing." And it was no surprise that he painted himself in that regard. What do you think?
Yeah, it did, but it was like you say, like most of the ATC representatives basically didn't have too many answers. They said they weren't a part of it. They said they weren't. They sort of passed the buck, and like you said, they're not. Even when they started asking about sort of whether PVL's launched litigation against it and did they have approval, it's sort of the same story over and again, isn't it? So it's like who actually initiated this, where did it come from, was probably where it started. No one really wants to give that up. PVL doesn't want to have control of the money, but he's worried about if they give him the money, they'll squander it. That's it. So you didn't really learn a lot about the Rosehill stuff, and it sort of just went further down the line. They seem to be trying to hang people. That seems to be the way the politicians do it, is they sort of ask questions to try and get the people to hang themselves for use later on. It's interesting just to sort of view it, but I think it is opening up the eyes of a lot of people to the way certain things are structured, and hopefully really good positives come out of it at the end of it, because It's much bigger than the Rosehill situation now. And, it is shining light where it needs to be shone. I think the guy actually said, I'm not worried about light being shined in dark corners, but hopefully it does get to those dark corners and a bit of sunshine comes out on the back of it. That's all we want, right?
DK, I know you're a Vic man. You got the big V jumper on, but did you take in any of the dialogue or any of the inquiry, or have you seen much about it?
Yeah, no, I turned it on for a bit. Scoot there. It was in at a suitable time. I watched Richie and Volandis, and I was keen to have a look at Volandis, and you wanted to get a guide, have a look at him under that scenario, and then you sort of get a guide of why he's such a not a great administrator, but a dominant administrator. Where he gets on the front foot and he was straight off the bat, and he's got a very strong personality that can easily dominate, and he was ready for Latham. He said, Latham, yeah, good, you're trying to get me in one of your, as you said, one of your gotcha moments, but he was ready for that. So but yeah, whatever you think of Richie, he did say, he said, my personal opinion is this. And they said, well, what's the Trainers Association opinion? He said, well, we don't have one because we haven't got any information. We haven't got any information. And I think that was the trend of it, isn't it? There's hardly any information out there. So, all those figures being bandied around, they're all having a guess. And, then they turned it into all the stuff against Racing New South Wales and people, Volandis saying, well, there's no evidence of this, no one's ever brought a complaint. And you saw the Channel 7 thing on Four Corners today. No one makes complaints because of the repercussions. Now, the only way I can do is come around the back door to journalists or to Latham and people like that. So, anyway, hopefully there'll be a bit to come. But, we're none the wiser about what's going on there, even though Carol and Cersei and that said this won't get through the members, whatever. So, who knows?
Richard Friedman was kind of interesting at the end. He was the same. He's like, listen, how can I possibly make a decision? Well, there's nothing. There's actually nothing. No information, zero. It's all sort of, everyone's got a different story, different figures, different numbers, and from them as trainers who literally will not have a say, they basically determined, didn't they? It was just like, well, from a professional standpoint, we've got nothing to run off. So, what is this thing? What is it? How did it get in front of anyone?
Yeah, I think the thing that riled the thing is us, because we're punters, we're a group, and there's no punters there. But Volandis, what did he say? He said, with no horses, no trainers, no jockeys, you don't have an industry. There's one group left out there. And at the moment, the owners are losing $100 million a year, so we need to correct that disparity for them to continue to invest. And the funding model's designed to distribute the maximum to participants. So that's why he's never been one for the wagering operators, never done them a favour or anything like that. So it's all the punters are obviously still forgotten.
And 80% of the money goes to like the top 5% of races. That's a very generalised, something like that. So
160,000 on a Saturday. Is that right? You race from 160,000 a standard Saturday race?
Well, that Group 2 last week was 300 to the winner, or so 300 or something, and it was dead set the same sort of, it's just...
Again, and that's the other thing too, because they're the benefactor of $800 million, so at the cost of punters. So punters' losses, there's $800 million worth. So if the owners are only doing $100 million...
And that's only what the racing industry get.
Exactly. That's 8 times more than punters. So then once you have the government and everything else, there's probably another $1.2 million that the punters lost. So... There's $2 billion. There's $2 billion of punters' losses, but then the owners are only out of pocket for $100 million. Well, you're going to kill the golden goose, and this is what we keep saying. And as DK's just pointed out, so now I understand. I fully understand that Peter's belief is why all these taxes and the costs are going up so high, because he has this misplaced view that the punters fund it, which is just ridiculous. Like no one expects to really go into this game and lose, but the fact that he's given the owners the biggest chop out on the planet at the detriment of the wagering dollar is crazy, and it's just going to play straight into the hands of sport and other activities.
It's a cop out too, right? Punters
will just take their funds and eventually they're just going to get jack of it and go, well, I'm going to go do something else. He was just
saying, the punters will be there. They'll bet on 2 flies crawling up the wall. They'll always be there. We've just got to get the other way. He doesn't say that. Seems to be his thing. The punters will be there. Whatever happens, we've just got to get this show, got to get the owners, which I don't...
And if the 100, a lot of the owners are punters too, right? So they're going to contribute the other side, and then it's not evenly distributed back. So even if it's 100 short, there's a lot of people losing a lot more than 100 down the line, and where we need them to stay alive. So he either doesn't understand the way that money is distributed or doesn't care, and punters the same. He doesn't understand that heavily taxed winnings from punters on these high margins is not sustainable. So, you're not going to keep the owner side's not going to be sustainable, and neither the punters. So,
and the problem is he doesn't listen to the corporates, doesn't listen to any of the Betfair people, which have dragged the game up and grown the game.
Who survive on turnover.
Exactly. And so he's just tied himself to the TAB, and they're the ones that are dying. So he just keeps going further down the wrong path, which is just insane. But my other big
now
problem...
it feels like he's gone to Sportsbet and the bigger giants and said, well, listen, what do you need to give us what we need? And yeah, that's short-sighted too, in my opinion, because you're just ostracizing so many people and trying to milk too heavily the people that can be milked, and how much milk can you get out of them? It's just... And
the current administration, they've had the biggest pot of money ever in the last 5 years, and they still can't make a budget, and they still can't make the figures work. And I thought the shadow treasurer, Damien Tudorhope or whatever his name is, he understood things clearly, and he's a treasurer. He understands the finance of it. He could clearly see that the model's broken and needs reworking. So the obvious answers to cut prize money, and that's the other thing, he's created this. Rosehill's got the history. You got the Golden Eagle worth 20 million, and the Silver Eagle, and all these races, and that doesn't even mean anything to Volandis anyway. And he's just pouring all this money down the sink at it. It's so broken in the logic. He's
blaming the ATC for having shortfalls when they aren't even the ones in control of these prize money figures.
It's just infuriating.
It seems strange.
And the next one, I think the third sitting in the inquiry, I don't know, I'm not sure what's going to come of that, but that's on September the 12th. Julie Ritchie, I think, is one of the Save Rosehill people, and she reckons that she's spoken to more people on ground level and hasn't had anyone in favour. And the fact that there's no media around that just says it all about how sewn up things and stitched up things are in New South Wales.
I think I've spoken to one participant in however long this has been going for that's in favour, and they've sort of got the opinion that it's going to be 20, 30 billion, whatever it is, and it's the saviour of the industry. So, whatever, that's their opinion, but that's just the only person I've spoken to that's, roughly in favour of anything. It's, a lot of people think it's all over, as in the decision's already been made and we're not going to change anyone's mind, but they're not in favour of it. They just think it's not worth even fighting because, it's like it's written in the stars.
Yeah, and I thought there was an interesting point from Richard Friedman as well, and he said, well, the partial renovation's not going to work, and he probably makes sense. You can't have 10, 15 years worth of construction bashing and crashing around Rosehill while there's still horses there. So they need to move, and the training services have to go away from that, which I guess if you look at the Melbourne examples, Moonee Valley doesn't have any horses trained there, so they can partially renovate that and, pick and choose when they have their racing. And then I guess Sandown's the other elephant in the room they've got to figure out. But again, there's no training there. So they could be both partially sorted out. But
where do you move Chris Waller to? He's not going to move to
Mossvale.
Yeah, where's he going to? Well, that's it. You've already got other old mate in there that was another interesting. I would have loved him to elaborate on how he thinks Kieran Maher's the greatest provider to New South Wales racing in years or something. I don't understand what that even means.
And Winks.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, exactly. I don't understand what that means. But if you move Chris Waller, I don't know where you move him to.
And Waller suggested that he's going to move interstate. He'd be more likely to go to Victoria. He'd have to have a base in New South Wales.
Where else could accommodate him? Nowhere. There's definitely nowhere in Brisbane that could accommodate him. So, yeah, interesting.
Fascinating to see how it shakes out, but 12th of September will be the next time that we jump on board that. And the straight, Bren O'Brien's coverage is still absolutely it. He's probably the only one pushing the barrow and giving full and dedicated coverage to it. So make sure you check out at the straight or thestraight.com.au and check out Bren's information there, because it's definitely second to none. He's also covering the issue about the government and their bans on advertising, so that's definitely worth a look. So it'd be interesting to see how that falls. Today's show without Nico will be hopefully fruitful anyway. Don was good last week. Cosmo Centaurus was a strong win up at the Sunshine Coast. Sort of got taken on and held him off nicely. Walt, you've got the Rosebud and the Spring Preview, so some good horses starting to come back there. Geelong last week, DK, splat off the map and hit the deck.
The vagaries of having to tip early, Scoot, I was keen on it because I was going to put a hole in the second favourite. So second favourite doesn't run. And then so instead of being a 240, it comes into 170, and then 8 scratchings means the field's smaller, and then the thing that was drawn 18 and was going to be out the back 10 links off him is only 6 links off him. And to its credit, first up for 2.5 years, it went like a rocket. Mine set outside the lead, kicked 4 links clear, and this first up for 2.5 years rounds it up. I mean, what can you do? And then And they want to tell us it's a top-class mare afterwards, top-class mare. So, that was grubby. But, it's like I said, 240, 250, I was happy to be interested. But then, unfortunately, odds on. And then the horse, the second thing, that Henry's Blade, went to Packham on Monday and got beaten out of sight. So, anyway, never mind. On you go. You can't do much about that.
Ballarat Syntho tomorrow, so beauty. Absolutely fearless.
Beauty.
Favourite too good for me. See you in heaven last Saturday over in Adelaide. I didn't think Kayla Crowther gave second and none the best steer. Didn't really put in the race, which I thought she might half do from barrier 5, but that's enough to send me packing to the Caulfield features this week. So I'll sub in for Nico. And then TopSport Steam last week, Schwartz fell in. Big Me was a bit stiff. Walt's still crying about it.
It fell in and the other one fell out. Yeah, it was just certainly beat, really. The way that race was, even did a big dick-duck dive, put its foot in a hole or something around the bend, probably cost it the race as well.
Yeah, Cavallo Rampante came from the same race, paid $18. Me and Nico had a peanut on it, so the winner was findable. And then Merchant Box was the other TopSport Steamer last week, and something went amiss with that horse because it looked perfectly placed and got beaten around 6 lengths. 4 bets this weekend for the TopSport Steamers, so they look pretty enticing, I would have thought. And then TopSport, make sure you check them out as the spring carnival kicks off. They bet Top Fluck, which not a lot of operators do. They got same race multi, protest payout, and they're Australian owned and operated. So make sure you check them out. DK, let's have a look at this Friday Ballarat Syntho best bet that you've got here. Race number 6. It's the Highgate Winner's Choice Maiden Plate, 1,500 metres. Lady Avengers a favourite at 205. Summer Night is 390. Oricani is 550. Spot the Grey 750. Psychosis $13. Tizell $18. The horse you like here, S. Fleedner, Blake McDougall, Summer Night.
Summer Night,
in the red and white.
Summer Night's out in the Fleedner colours out wide here. This was second up, so I think second up or second start first prep. It ran well at Ballarat, so I put a bit of work into the horse. I got back, hit the line, so I put a bit of work into it, and it's bred to get over ground. Always done a heap, but really good at the trials, but never really produced race days. Being green. Returned this prep, didn't do much on the heavy first up. Then here, still a bit green, but just this is 1,200 metres, and just like this race was dominated from the front by B Shin, just like it's worked through, and then after the line here, it's up the leaders Gingers if that you keep watching that footage. So I was looking for one with the rising trip here to 1,500 that could improve, and I think it's its mother one over 1,900. It's just taken a while to mature. Gets the low draw. The big jockey changed to B. McDougall. It's had two sort of just, W. Gordon and Jay Noonan do their best, but they can't really get horses to go. B. McDougall can really get them to go. He's a good jockey switch. He's got soft hands. He can get them to go. So third up, second prep, out to a trip. I thought it was the one who could, I was just looking for one who could improve up in trip and at a price. The favourite, we want to back favourites. It was a narrowly beaten first up off a year's break in an average race. The $1.30 favourite went like a busted in that race, so I've just got a query over that race. But it'll be fitter, and it had the close up second, first up, then goes up even second up. It's not really, it's too obvious, but I like this horse. Looked like a good option for this to improve. It's always shown plenty at the jump out. It's like it jumps out really well. So just waiting to put it together race day, and I think tomorrow might be it.
At $3.90 now at TopSport, bet down to $3, $2.50.
Oh no, I think it'll hold up. It's a bit speculative. I think the favourite will. The favourite. A lot of people love the favourite. Oh yeah, it's track run on the track. It's second up. It's up 100 and all this. So the favourite will be very solid. I think this is a bit speculative. So I think $4 will be. I think a bit's of $4. But $4. I don't think it'll be hammered in the market because it's a bit speculative. But I'm speculating that it can be a real improver there.
Outstanding stuff. All right, so that's Geelong on Friday.
No, I wish it was Geelong. I wish it was at Warwicknabeal Saturday. I wish Warwicknabeal was Friday. Last time Warwicknabeal, we got the winner there. The thing from the last show of the season before we had a break. And can't tip at Rockhampton today. Unfortunately, Walt, the whole team's in at Rockhampton. The mighty Pep will go straight to the front there and be hard to run down. But that might be before the show gets released. But anyway, give it strength.
Pepperdine, Ballarat Synthetic. I'm having a mare there. Ballarat Synthetic Friday, race 6, number 6, and that's Summer Night. So price should hold there, so you don't need to dive into that one too quickly there. All right, we've got Saturday, and the good horses are starting to come back, and I'm going to have a look at the Regal Roller, and that's Caulfield Saturday race number 7. Maotai Waltz horses, the favourite here at $3.90. Arkansas Kid $4.20. Cast $5.50. Expressiveness $7.50. Query Runner from New Zealand. You got Who Dares $8. It's Our Time $9.50. Kabling $13. Bandersnatch $20. The Pendragon $21. Vagrant $21. And then El Soleado, which is one of DK's horses, $34. Looks like a fair bit of speed engaged here, and I guess you got to sort of treat Maotai like a brand new horse. Now it's with the Moody camp, and it was some win up the straight at Flemington, but there looks like plenty of speed here. Who Dares is going to be close. Arkansas Kid can sort of go forward. The Kiwi horse Expressiveness can all roll forward. There's it looks like a bit of a pressure cooker 1200 here, and the horse I like here is in the red. Always had an opinion of it. The horse is called Cast. It's pardon me. It's from the Ben, Will, and JD Hayes camp, and you can see Mr. Brightside in the white jacket with the red cap sort of bolting on the outside there. So very hot trial. Sort of two trials, and a lot of these jump outs can sort of be like this. A lot of the time there's the 800-metre trial, and then once you watch these trials to the completion, which is probably important for the next trial that we watch, but a lot of the time these sneaky Victorian trainers push them out, past the line. So Mr. Brightside was quite good through the line there, but up until the 800-metre mark, I thought Cast did enough there. And this horse Cast was a bit of an eye-catcher, and I found her probably first up at Sandown. She put away Jenny Lala, and she's just got a booming finish, this horse, and I think the pressure cooker of this 1200 will be to her liking. She can sit just off the fence for Michael D, who knows her inside out. She was super in the Nitschke Stakes, rounding up a horse like Royal Merchant, who's subsequent Group 1 winner. And then she had a bit of and then she beat Foxy Frida over 1,600 metres. So she's got a lot of strength and got a lot of potential, this mare. She had an injury. I think she's had a bit of a scrape in her knees after her, a lacklustre performance, beaten 3 to Amelia's Jewel, and that's when she got herself injured. So she started around the $10 mark there. I think I even spec'd it there for our syndicate tips Cast against Amelia's Jewel, but she's sustained an injury in that run and only got beaten 3 lengths. So she's been in work a fairly long time here, and they've prepped her right here up here, and I think she can be dangerous in 1,200, 1,400 metre Group 1 races here. So I think she's definitely a Group 1 horse, and hopefully she's fit enough to reel a couple of these leaders in, because he can get a bit fierce going, Maotai. Definitely a horse that can bore pace into it. Arkansas Kid, I'm sure that Luke Curry will put some speed into it as well. He's drawn 2, can use him, but I think he's a real Jekyll and Hyde horse. Arkansas Kid, Who Dares, is another horse that can go forward, and I just thought the Query Runners would be a bit of a worry. Expressiveness concerns me a little bit. Damian Lane, $7.50, and Price Kent Jr., I know they're not really a stable or Waltz, but they're pretty good with second-hand sprinters or sprinting horses from other trainers or other jurisdictions. They can really put the polish on and make them go good. So I'll be looking around sort of horses like Cast as my main bet, and then if there's any money or market support, I might just cover up with Expressiveness, who brings Group 1 1,200-metre form, albeit over from New Zealand. But not sure if you guys had any thoughts or interest in that race, but it's no gimme, this one, but happy to lean the way of Cast, who I think's a Group 1 animal.
Yeah, I had a look, Scoot. I'm sort of more with the stablemate. I know you said Arkansas Kid. I know you said he's a bit Jekyll and Hyde, but that was, I think there's a big gear change here. The ultimate gear change for him could be the making of him. The gelding, I think he was, he could have, beforehand it was a colt. He's used to, like you said, he's a bit Jekyll and Hyde, did a few things wrong and things like that. I think the gelding, he jumped out, had the one jump out, off a gelding, so they got him ready off one jump out. It was a very sharp jump out as well. I think he can just park behind him, Al Curry, and I thought he might just have the fresher legs and get that burst of first up as a gelding at 1,200, whereas Cast is probably a bit more 1,400 metres, going to be strong late, but I just thought he might be the fresher legs at 1,200. So, good little race, but I just had a bit of leaning to the stablemate there. I know what you had. You have a look, Walt?
I can see all sort of 3 angles for Maotai. Different horse, travel like a rocket down the straight. What will it do around a bend? And then the other 2 should get the runs they need. They should get Arkansas Kid gets perfect barrier to track up, and Cast should get the speed on it. It wants to win.
If he should,
I couldn't pick any holes in anything anyone said, really.
Yeah.
$4 is just a brave price to take Mautai. Like, I like him, could be a brand new thing, and I love the fact that Linda's jumped on, gets down to 54 kilos, but it's sort of a cupboard job. You're gonna have to have your your hands on your nuts and just pray that the horse settles again, and as you say, corners that well, because the straight sometimes suits those horses that are a bit keen going.
That's all right. He's got to get around Caulfield. That was my thing as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then is the inside going to be okay?
Yes. What's the other thing?
There's a few questions to be asked. Talking about price, and then I just treat them all as scratchings. I think I might put D Lane and price. That's a double scratching, isn't it? Double scratching. Jeez.
Coupling?
No, it's not much good. It's been trying really. I don't think Gate 1 around Caulfield really going to suit it. It'll need the ride of its life from Jay Childs.
And I think that Ramorny form is a bit chinky when you look at when you stack it up with these
in decent levels of form. Absolutely, and it's weird. He sort of it's been an overachiever, that horse, to be fair, and it was getting beaten in a lot easier races than it's been competitive in lately. So.
Cracking race, and make sure you black book any big performances out of that race, because I think that Regal Roller is much stronger than listed level. I think it's going to come out as cracking form, so there'll be a lot of winners from that race. Race number 8 is the PB Lawrence, and Pericles is the favourite here, $3 at TopSport. B Shin on, and you got Gentleman Roy, who's back to his best, $5. Munamek, Hutchie's horse. Gee, it's just a money maker for these boys. Good on them. $5.50. Pinstripe, $5.50. Jimmy the Bear, $8. Buffalo River, $9.50. Aegon, $16. Pounding, $26. And then you got Niccolo VD, $26. Banker's Choice, $34. And then Honey Girl, $91. Couple of trials we're going to have a look at here. Pericles, up in your neck of the woods. Walt, what did you think of him here?
He always trials pretty well because he's sort of got that cruising speed, and he's not one to get easily assess off trials because he doesn't really have a big turn of foot or anything. I think he sort of goes that one pace. So you expect him to trial pretty well. He definitely looks under the least pressure of the ones up sort of front on outside him. He's that hinged or something. He's a tricky horse to always line up for me, and because you don't know what they're aiming him at. What are they aiming at? 2,000 metre races, mile race. They seem every prep to sort of
just throw him in, and
you never really know where he's going. When the Godolphin horses have usually got a plan. So first up 1,400 would usually signify they're trying to get him out to 2,000 metres. So maybe will he be vulnerable here potentially? So he's not a horse that I can take $2.90 about first up 1,400. That's for sure.
He's the jump out, or the latest jump out of Pinstriped, and I think this is where the frustration sort of creeps in from the jump out trial pervs and just the normal everyday sort of punters. You can see the vision's pretty low quality here, and I think it's another 800 metre jobbie. Obviously Pinstripes in the white and the red. It blacks out, so you don't see him for 200 metres or maybe 400 metres. But then he works really solidly through the line, and then the jockey actually just starts to ride him out and gets right into him after and through the line.
So that's right, Scoot. So a lot of these jump outs on the days, you were speaking about it before about them being ridden out after the line. So they're only 800 metre jump outs, but the trainer wants to give them a 1,000 metre jump out. So that's what's happened there. So he's had two 800s. He needs a 1,000 metre jump out. There's not a 1,000 metre jump out on the program. So when all the horses just cruising the line, that's when he starts getting up him for the last furlong. So that's why he's having a 1,000 metre jump out, even though it only says 800.
And the other thing is, frustration, I look at TopSport's website, and their form guide says that the horse is first up and no trials. So then the truth is that it's had 3 jump outs, and then if I go to the racing.com website, I can then go and look at those 3 jump outs, and then it's just not uniform. But then I look at the punting form guide, which I do 95% of my or 90% of my form through, and again the jump outs just aren't listed there. So
Aristodius was the same in Sydney. Annabelle had it first up in Sydney. Yes, they had 2 jump outs in Melbourne. She came on telly and talked about it even. She's like, we prepared it down there on the sand.
As I said, it's all proprietary. Racing.com have to pay Cranbourne to get the footage to get it on the racing.com website because the club owns the footage. It's not public. It's just ridiculous. They've paid Flemington and Caulfield a fortune. They pay every club that provides their own footage for the jump outs. It costs racing.com money to do the contract to get the jump outs off the clubs onto the website. It's just
It's just disgraceful.
But as I
Still,
said,
and
where
then
was it?
to not get it into a centralised database, even that is centralised database, even that is pretty crazy.
Oh, it's embarrassing. Like, and we've never paid more to bet on the sport, and they just can't figure that out.
Mm.
Like, and there's not enough. Like, as a more general point, there's just not enough info sharing in the back end, and I guess it's because of the stupid database rules and stuff like that. But there's got to be a way to, have some terms and conditions where they share it. Like,
Someone's putting it into racing.com's database, so how hard can it? There's something they can put it somewhere else, and it's all shared. Exactly.
It has to carry over. Like, even to try and buy a horse and then, or buy a tried horse and then muck around with Racing Australia and then get your billing correct. Like, the whole thing is just dog's breakfast. Like, it is terrible.
It's like 1974 doing Racing Australia, doing the forms for owners and, like you said, Scoot, transfer of owners and this and that. Like,
there's never been more gear change in corrections or incorrect gear change. Like, so many times you go, hang on, this says it had earmuff, it didn't, it had pre-race. And trying to keep up with it. You got no hope, like if you're punting form or someone like that, good luck.
That's exactly why the whole industry just needs a bit of a sweep out, and the right people need to be in the right position.
And when they're talking, how much is prize money, whatever, you don't need to throw that sort of money to get these sort of things right.
It should be just so simple. It should be able to happen in like one or two little meetings and say, all right, here's a couple of big problems that are stifling betting and then stopping owners from being involved. God, it just makes me sick.
Yeah, even if it's one or two new jobs that need to be created, it's far more important than a $1 million increase in a pretty insignificant race.
I did have a bit of a giggle when I started to dig in to see who was a past CEO of Racing Australia. 2012 to 2016, Peter McGuarran, CEO. So
No comment.
Just from the sidebar. Okay, we'll get back onto the back on track here with the race itself. But you saw Pericles and Pinstripe sort of jump out. I think both at their best. They're definitely the horses that you have to start around here. But I thought the $3 Pericles was pretty cramped. Gentleman Roy, well, he's back in business here. I'm not sure he's suited under weight for age conditions. He's going to be pouring the speed up, and there looks to be a fair bit of speed with like Buffalo River up there as well. Moonamek, been up forever. Horse looks like well suited by the setup of the race, but I just worry that a horse like Pinstripe or Pericles on their day can overhaul him. A horse like Jimmy the Bear, I could see this race being suited to as well. Aegon, I think I took $34 about this horse this time last year, but now you sort of have to take $16. So even he wouldn't surprise me, but I think Pinstripe this time in 3 jump outs will be fully wound up, and there's just no Mr. Brightside there. So at a price point around the sort of the $5, $50, $6 mark, I'd rather gamble the way of Pinstriped and maybe have a tiny sort of cashew nut on Aegon or a horse sort of outside the market as a bit of a mental health or sanity bet. But it's a tricky race, but I think the market's going to flip heavily. I think that Gentleman Roy will be a big drifter, and perhaps even Moonamek will be a drifter as well.
I leaned to Pinstripe as well, Scoot. As I said, with Arkansas Kid, I'm looking for an improved horse returning, and he looks like that off his trials. And look at what EJ said yesterday. EJ said he's improved, back bigger and stronger. He's always a horse without a 9. Nico's always been kicking up for him, particularly in the past, in the spring or in the last autumn, whenever it was. So I've got a good handle on him and love those 3 trials means he's ready. This could be last year's PB Lawrence, I don't know if you remember, was brutally run. And Mr. Brightside won it first up and he ran second. And there's going to be, with Buffalo River and Gentleman Roy and the like in the race, it's going to be good tempo there. And that those 3 trials have him nice and fit. So, I think it's his chance to break through. But, yeah, another good little race.
And I think EJ's smart enough to know that the Group 1 might be beyond him with, Pride of Jenny and Mr. Brightside. So this is his big chance for a kill, I would have thought. And then that'll top him off completely for the next assignment, which he'll have to be at absolutely 100%. So I expect him to be the horse to beat, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets back. But, yeah, I echo Walt's thoughts with Pericles. He looks like his child, all right. But, I look back through his form and see he's only got beaten by a length to a horse like Celestial Legend. But I agree with Walt. He's just a nothing horse for that camp.
He just pokes around. He's just always in the way, but he's just, he's only won 4 from 18, and he had the PR a lot more than 4 times and hasn't got home. So,
and like you said, I don't think there's a plan for him. Like I heard Cummings say They said, "Oh, are you going to the Memsey after this?" And he said, "Maybe. Might go to the So You Think though. It might be a good race for him." So like they just sort of plod along with him, see where he goes.
I don't think they've ever worked out what he is. That's it, because he's got that, I don't know, he sort of loomed up early, looked like he was going to be a 2,000-metre horse all day, and then, I don't know. Anyway,
He's a gelding.
Munamek will probably just double in price and win again for Hutchie and the boys.
What a horse. The speed
Hard
of
not
the
to
speed of
cheer.
the race will set up for him.
Yeah.
He just keeps finding the line.
J Mott can ride. Just not Big Me.
Some people are just born winners.
Well, the inside, the track didn't help him there the other day. The inside being no good.
No, I jest there. Puntingform.com.au might have the jump outs, but it's a great database. I can globetrot anywhere. I was sort of pickling around at Swan Hill last Saturday, Mildura, in Walt's little live broadcast there. Found Corona Lad at Adelaide on the fly. It's definitely the fastest tool. So if you want to just bet race to race, you can sit there with Punting Form and flick through the form faster than any other product. I'd suggest it's absolute beauty. So check out puntingform.com.au and you can even ring them up and get some tutorials if it looks like Chinese for you. But if you're struggling with it, just stick with it. And I think after a couple of months, you'll be up to speed because, wow, I absolutely love it. Rosehill, you ready, Walt?
I'm ready.
All right, it's race number 6. It's the Rosebud. And a favourite here is Tarpaulin, $3.50. I think it's dual nominated. Gatsby, $3.70. High Octane, $5.50. Brave One, $5.50. Shangri-La Express, $7.50. Astapor, the Queenslander. Oh, no, it's not. $9. It's with Joe Pride.
I mean, more. Yeah.
And then Winning Proposal, $15. Clear Proof is $18. Tarpaulin's going to go the Vane Stakes, or he's going to stay in the Rosebud?
Oh, I assume it's staying in Sydney. I've got no reason, especially with the rain around. I wouldn't imagine there's any reason. J-Mac, there's a lot of reasons for it to stay. Sorry, he's not J-Mac's not right there. It's Lloyd, isn't it, young fella? But no, I'd expect it to stay in Sydney. The rain's an issue. Haven't had really an update there for a while from Riser or Racing New South Wales, but expecting maybe 6, 7 or something like that. So it should be reasonably fair. I sort of kept just coming back to Gatsby's here. What are we looking at?
Let's have a look at his last start when he finished 4th. So that's him in the white blaze.
Yeah, so he was first prep here, and he'd come off a win first up. I think he was ridden upside down in horrific conditions just to get the win, and then they threw him way up in grade here, and you'd have to remind me of the horses around him, but it ended up being a lot stronger race than what I probably
Coleman.
figured. The Melbourne horse won, Melbourne horse down there. Was it Dublin down and
Coleman? Coleman.
Yeah, Coleman. So they both came out and, well, Coleman ran very well in the slipper. So this form actually ended up probably stronger than what I thought it was leading into that race. And then this is its latest trial. That's Brave One in front, who's already won. So a race fit horse. Gatsby sits outside here, and it's really hard to see when he obviously does give him a bit of leather late and lets him stride a touch. But the last 100 metres here is just insanely dominant for me for a horse that hasn't had a run this time in. Just gives him a little squirt, and not as if Brave One's under pressure, but I'm huge on race fit horses. Are entitled to trial extremely well in between runs. So obviously Gatsby's has got an awkward draw here, and Brave One draws 1. Shangri-La Express will roll forward, probably take it up. Tarpaulin's hard fit, but it's coming off heavy track wins against probably inferior opposition, you'd have to say. So I don't know. It's like 270 to 380. I'm sitting there punching myself in the head trying to work out what that means, especially with J-Mac, because, and Waller, they're always kept tight in the market. I couldn't really understand what the drift was about. This horse really only needs to have any luck getting across from the outside draw, and I can't see why it's not a dominant favourite. Brave One's going to get a nice run, but I've just seen the trial there. It's sort of taking Tarpaulin on a little bit. Should get a nice run, should get every chance. Probably the wetter the track, the better for it. High Octane's trials to me said it wants probably 1,400 at a high level. I thought 1,100 was a little bit sharp for it. So I just sort of kept coming back to Gatsby's, and they bet a silly price Shangri-La Express early, which is now gone, but I could probably save on it just in case Timmy just slides across in front and the horse just keeps running, because he does have deep form around him, and maybe he's just the one that could just keep sort of trotting. But I'm very happy thinking $4 around Gatsby's is just a big price for a horse that's got huge upside to me.
And Tarpaulin's just come out of the Vane Stakes as well. So
It has come at, so
that's 43-cent deduction. So a big deduction down at the Vane Stakes. But he was definitely the horse that I was drawn to instantly, Gatsby's. And I was sort of just keeping my powder dry until they sort of signaled which way they were going. But love that. Bet down to what price? Well,
it's weird because you're trying to oppose J-Mac while they're first up because they're normally tight as hell. But
no J-Mac tax.
I don't know. Why is it blown so hard? I understand it's drawn the outside gate, but there's a field of 8 and it's sort of softish track. It's not as if it's going to be on fire. So I don't know. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it started 6-4, and then but then how do you explain the early betting? I'm a little bit shocked, but I'm just more than happy to take whatever it is, 380, 390, whatever's around.
Rosehill Race 8 is the next one. It's the spring preview, the Precise Air Handicap over 1,400 metres. Old sparring partner here, Tommy Kitten. Everyone knows him. $4.20 into $3.90. Hinged, $5.50. More Victorious, $5.50. Chawton Lane, $6.50. 7 in. Communist, we saw a trial just before, $12. Chow Wolf, or CO Wolf, $13. Robusto, $13. Exelitis, $13. Lavish Empire, Flying. Yucky scenes last time for you, Walt, $14. Cuban Royale, $17. And then much better the rest. Old Frank Gardy, first up, 61 kilos with old Zachy Waddocks, even in the race, $51 first up. It'll be on the big Cups campaigns as well. But firstly, let's have a look at the Tom Kitten trial that a few people are gushing about.
Well, it's weird because they've just sent Golden Mile to stud, so you would have thought that Tom Kitten was $1.01 to end up at a stallion, and they've chopped his nuts out. So, that's exciting for us, to be fair. And you do have to treat him as somewhat of a new horse because he, big, strong. It easily sort of help him. You wouldn't think it would possibly hinder him, and he certainly looks a lot sharper in these trials. They're very slowly run trials, so they're hard to get a handle on, but. He certainly looks super sharp there. Gate 1, J-Mac. If you treat him as a new horse, you have to take him super seriously here. But yeah, he and Chairworth both gelded. I thought it was interesting, but it's good to see. And they're obviously both going to stay on and race on, which is good. So you got to hope that he comes back a new and improved horse.
A more Victorious Hawkesbury trial.
Yeah, so obviously the boys at the tab didn't like this trial because they put him up $15 here, even though he looks a dominant leader. But this is a 1,250-metre trial. Again, to me, these are basically hurdle trials. Like they're usually slow run race, slow time. You don't take a lot of notice, but this horse is just a horse that sort of gets up and rolls, and you just want to see him do what he does here, and that's get through his gears. He's never going to sprint super sharp and look like, Gatsby's did earlier in the race. I'm not worried about a couple of horses there closing on him late. Just want to see him sort of pick up when Josh asks him to and sort of start to move through his gears. He's definitely going to be somewhat vulnerable here, but I thought it was a weird race for a number of reasons. I'm trying to work out why B. Osmond's on Hinged. I couldn't work that out at all. And to me, that's a huge penalty for the horse. So, it's probably the horse that can roll forward with the more Victorious. So I'm sort of taking it out of play. I'm sick of Chawton Lane. I just don't like the horse much at all. I think there's a few versions of him. Would I be surprised if he won? Probably not. But by the same token, I probably would be. So Chio Wolf, CO Wolf, whatever you want to call him, he's definitely a horse that I think is drawn awkwardly, and they'll definitely be conservative and let him run on. Communist is hard to catch. Lavish Empire, I don't think will run 1,400 metres off a cliff. And then sort of the rest are a bit tricky to catch. Robusto's dangerous but draws wide. So you just keep coming back and I think a more Victorious can be out in front. As I said, they put up $15. You give yourself an uppercut for that. But $6 I think is fair for a horse that should be left alone in front. Bjorn's probably not, Stable's not probably in their prime form, but they're still getting winners. And this horse is a horse that, it looked like it nearly had the Doncaster at its feet last prep, and Shuey got on and gave it a couple of sore back. So he should give a huge sight here. And I think you have to save on Tom Kitten because it could just blow their heads off. It really could. Just gate 1, the way the race sets up, 3 back the fence, gets a run outside and just gaps them if it's been switched on by the gelding. And we get back to, so like he was very well placed when he was racing well early against pretty average fields, but this is not a deep field, I don't think. And B. Osmond on Hinge is just, what is that? I don't know what that is. So
Against J-Mac.
Yeah, I don't understand. So unless it's going to be scratched or something, I don't really understand. So I'm just happy to be with a more Victorious, and I'm not losing if Tom Kitten wins because I'm probably not having my life on him. I want to see him do it, but I don't want to see him brush past me and he is $4. He's not even money.
I can just see Tommy Kitten just being cluttered up and it's just going to be a car crash.
It could be. But
Classic
now he's got
Tom
no nuts
Kitten.
and he's not sniffing around for a mare. Maybe he'll just bunch them out of the way and blow their heads off. Who knows?
Joe Pride, there's an interesting one with Joe Wolf. I thought the horse is green as grass, still has got no idea what it's doing. I thought it could put it together this prep. I was sort of thinking maybe Blinkers switch this horse on, and poor old Joe, he doesn't know whether it's an Epsom horse or a Caulfield Cup horse. What do you think it is?
Yeah, I think his chance in life is definitely 2,000 metres plus. How far he can run, probably the better. The further they go, the more chance he is, especially with the gelding, like you said, because he used to do a few funky things. You get a bit keen early and do some crazy stuff. I don't know. Joe's just a funny cat. Like someone's saying that Jay Ford's been booked for Private Eye for its prep, and he's on this horse here. So to me, it used to say when Jay was on one of Joe's that he was basically having a barrier trial or getting ready for a race down the line. You wait for blinkers and a different rider, but maybe he's half using him as his stable rider now. I'm not really sure, but yeah, I think he'll run a mile and a half, especially like what's at the moment to me. All those races are going to be dictated by overseas horses because there's nothing here with any quality. Whether it be a 2,000, 2,400 or plus. We've got Pride of Jenny and a couple others, and that's about it, isn't it? It's pretty scary times for middle to distance races.
Are you still with us, DK?
Yeah, even though, North Korean racing, not really my cup of tea, but I'm still here, Scoot.
All right. We'll let you have a spell for that race, but I'm just curious that Walt's sort of kicking up for James McDonald. It's a very rare scenario, so me reading in between the lines.
Especially big stables, big horses, you normally cop half the price, and if they'd have put up $8 Tom Kitten, there would have been a goddamn avalanche. So it's interesting to see him priced fairly. Maybe it's just a sign of good horses coming back, and it's not one or two chances, and he stands out like dog's balls because he basically gets the pick of the pack, doesn't he?
Walt needs to have a big stiffy to get behind CJ Waller.
That's an interesting statement. I think I'll just leave it at that.
And to be on JMac as well, usually the other way. Racingwatch.com.au for more Johnny stuff. If you got a stiffy for the way he does form, make sure to check that out, Telegram or his Discord channel. You absolutely crackers if you don't, because he's a vampire. Walt just does not sleep, just keeps doing form, eats it for brekkie, lunch and dinner. Donnie was terrific last week. Cosmo Centaurius, very gutsy win. And this week he's got another one at Doomben.
G'day, boys. Best bet is race 5 at number 4, Miss Middle Park, this week at Doomben. Tony Golden Horse, third up, should settle closer from the lower jaw. Ann Jones takes the right. I think he should be the favourite in the race. She'll stalk the speed, come down the middle, and handle the wet. I think he should be winning. Good luck.
I think the jockey bookings are crucial here. I've had a quick squiz of this race, and I'd be surprised if it doesn't go off favourite here, Miss Middle Park. I think it gets a perfect setup to 1,200 now. I thought the danger could be Tranquil Bay for N. Callow. 56.5 kilos is probably as light as Noel rides, or he might even ride it a kilo over. But, yeah, wow, it was a car crash last weekend. It was heavily backed as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if it motors home, but it has to come back to 1,200 metres. So Miss Middle Park for Donnie, and I'm saying the danger is Tranquil Bay, but it will be drifting from the $5 mark. So don't bet that one early. And it'll just be a bit of a write-off with those top few in the market. You got Emily Lang on Nanagui, who gets 2 kilos off, I think, Miss Middle Park from last time they met. And then you got Ange Jones will go forward, and then you got Noel Callow will just smoke his pipe out the back with Tranquil Bay. And I'd be in shock if anything else gets near those. But
that'd be underwater up there, wouldn't it?
I was going to say, yeah. She's been on how wet it is. For Miss Middle Park, you'd want probably a firming track, not a real wet track. She's used to be from down here. I know her.
Be interesting to see how much. I don't think they've caught. Gold Coast is completely.
Mate, Eka was underwater. Literally, there was inches of water on top of the equestrian or whatever. I saw some photos yesterday. So, and it's not far from Doomben.
Yeah. I think it's gonna. Yeah. I think it'll dry out, and then I think it's going to be 25 degrees on Saturday. So,
geez, DK's right. Five on the soft for a donut. 14 on the top of the ground for 4 wins and 6 placings. So
check your weather maps, but I wouldn't be surprised if the moisture just comes straight back out of that track because it I'm not 100% convinced that they've had the rain that we've had down here, and then It's an absolute heater. So that we got 24 degrees, 26 degrees Friday with no rain, and then Saturday's going to be 27 degrees and no rain. So Friday, Saturday, the juice is going to get sucked right out of this track. So hopefully it gets back to a soft 6 for or soft 5 for Donny. And I really doubt that it'll be a heavy 10. But
They've got it at 10
good
at
point,
the moment.
DK.
10 and raining.
It's got no form and wet track. So yeah, a little bit of an asterisk with Donny's tip there.
Just the 36.5 mils in the last 24 hours.
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Mate, Donny bet there to get the chopper out, ring his mate PVL up, ring the NRL boss up and tell him to get up there with the chopper.
Drain a lot better than the New South Wales tracks.
They don't even race.
Mate, a wet fart and it goes to a bloody...
Mate, Ipswich was off the first yesterday. What are you talking about? We Kensington battled on.
Mate, it's an hour and a half drive out. It's an hour out of the city.
It's royalty.
Nowhere near Doomben.
It's becoming the, it's like Penrith in Sydney, isn't it? It's becoming the centre of Brisbane. It'll end up Ipswich.
It could be. TopSport Steam, if anyone's still listening, 1 from 3 last week, but they got 4 bets here. Couple at Rosehill for Walt. Race 1, number 7, Autumn Glow, 2,000 at 370.
Yeah, it's a good race. It was scratched from yesterday. It was odds on, I think, and I don't know what they were dodging there, but I was saving it for the better race. It's not even a group race, but it could be. Not an easy race to win on debut, but yeah, trial's really nice. Second trial was great. Took a gap and sprinted hard. Gay's horse Dawn Service will be hard to beat up in front. Just Party was one trial. Looked like they tried to sort of hide it there. I'm not sure what the go was there. Get a Fix was really good first up and had trials since. Iron Hawk went like a rocket on debut in a weird track. So, a competitive little race. I couldn't take much shorter than 370, but I can see why. I see why they've done it, and if it's come from the right place, obviously a good client for Tristan to take that sort of bet. So interesting.
Rosehill race 7, number 5 is Karzoo, 1,000 at $4.20.
This is the one that sort of scares me. That was a Waller go there, but this horse sort of sat 1-1 and didn't finish the course last start in a much more suitable race. So pulled up 1 out of 5 lame. Here, to me, it's a sort of horse that needs to dominate from up front, 1,300, 1,400 metres. It's going to get, it's got Bubba's Bay, Felix Majestic, Caboo's drawn wide, Terramata's got speed if it wants it, Sneaky Page set outside leader, Danistar, they've all got speed. So I don't see where this horse fits in. Half a lunatic. I don't understand where that money's coming from. I would expect that horse to start closer to $10. So I don't really get that. If it doesn't, it scares me. Actually, it's a race I had a really good look at because I nearly sort of wanted to tip Terramata. It's just if it was 1,100, I'd be very keen to back Terramata. That last 100 on a testing track first up might be interesting, but they should fly in that race.
Doomben race 3, number 6 is Redwood Shadow. I spoke a little bit off air to Donny about this one, and it looks very well suited.
Mate, it'd be harder to get. It's harder to catch than DK with a bloody toasty, mate. To get the toasty out of DK's hands and catch this horse.
Well, I had a look at him because he used to be down here as well. He started his career down here, and I find it extraordinary that he was a 2,000 metre, around about a 2,000 metre horse down here, and then this is his first run in 2 years. Well, last start they stepped him up to 2,200 for the first time in 2 years. He just kept him to the mole. Joe Pride who had him before and everything. Extraordinary. Then he stepped back up to this trip and was a moral beat the other day. So,
42 starts, 4 wins.
Extraordinary.
42 for 4.
Mile. I don't understand. How can the people not work these horses out?
And this could be my bet. I assure you it's not. Caulfield race 8, number 6 is Pinstripe, 400 at $6. So someone singing from the same hymn book
that
as
looks a bit
DK
smarter, that bet, doesn't it? The old 400 at 6 to bet to win the 2,000.
To win 2,000, sir. Beautiful. So, yeah, that's hopefully that one can salute for us, for me and DK there. But, not my wager, but I'll definitely take it. I'd love that one. All right, I think that's a wrap from us. Well done, DK. Handled the Melbourne studio on your Pat Malone, which is a bit of a worrying trend.
The old China Nico's going to be all right. Gee whiz, it doesn't sound good, but let's hope he doesn't lose any of his Onka Paringa.
No, exactly. It hopefully, at least he's got something to watch in hospital now, so he can.
He'd have 3 laptops up there. He'd be an op, actually.
He's still watching the race and still doing a bit of form, which is beautiful business and what you'd expect from a punter. But the old IV drip, getting changed every 2 hours is limiting sleep. So he should be just smacking as much endone as he could. I would have thought he'd go good on endone, I reckon. Walt
does nothing. Does absolutely nothing
to
for
you.
me. Zero.
That's
nothing.
a concern.
Doesn't help with pain. Doesn't put me to sleep. Does nothing.
Oh, Jesus.
Does nothing.
Yeah, you're not sweet.
Mm-hmm.
good luck on the weekend, and it's good to see some of the good horses back, and hopefully the form starts to run pretty true for us, and hopefully Donny sends his man to the Doomben racetrack to get that track dry for Miss Middle Park. See you next week.